Yo, welcome to the Big Take. I'm your host, John Red, here to bring you the biggest take in professional open bodybuilding. And today we have our second guest ever on the show, none other than Marx Max Muscle. This is the man behind the voice. I know you haven't just seen the voice, even though most of the time you just hear the voice. But here he is. Mark, thank you so much for appearing on my show, on my tiny show.
Oh,
How you
no,
doing?
it's always a pleasure to come on. These is an honor, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
so one thing I want to say before we start, and I've already told you this on Instagram, but they have several bodybuilding channels out, several people reporting on shows, and yours has been my favorite from the beginning. Obviously, Nick Strength and Power was like the first one that kind of put the idea in people's heads and whatnot. But like I said, for probably about 5 years, I've been watching your stuff. Anytime there's a big show or any show, right when I see that notification, I don't know, I got to hit the bell on your channel. Right when I see that ding, I got to see it. You have a very unique way and informative way of breaking down physiques, breaking down shows and whatnot. So just want to thank you for that. And it's an honor to have you on the show.
Without you fans, without you guys clicking on them videos right away, you know.
There ain't nothing there. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where were you raised? What's your favorite color?
I am. I don't like favorite colors.
Oh,
I don't believe in favorite
you
colors.
don't believe in favorite
No,
colors?
no. Depending on the situation, I like the sky to be blue. I
Yeah.
like red bricks. But no, I'm Canadian.
Uh huh.
Up here in Canada, frozen right now. New Brunswick. If you're
New
familiar,
Brunswick.
a lot of people are not even familiar with New Brunswick.
No, I'm not.
You know
I
what?
gotta. No, no. What part of Canada is that
You,
in?
you know where British Columbia is?
Nope.
Okay.
Sure don't.
British Columbia is over here. New Brunswick's way over the other side.
British
East Coast.
Columbia, East
East Coast.
Coast.
Yeah.
All right, because I got a text message when we were on when we were talking about getting started and whatnot, and it said like, "Hope everything is going well." It was a 917 number, and I looked up 917 area code, and it said New York, and I looked at the time, and the time lined up with yours,
New York's close. Yeah.
and
We're,
I
we're
said,
I'm right close. We're touching Maine.
"Oh, okay, yeah, yeah."
Yeah.
So I said something like, "Is this who I think it is?" Like a dumbass, you know? And I was like, I said literally this, "Is this the man behind the voice?" Like a dumbass. And it was like, "Oh, this is Kathy. I thought this was Mary." So obviously, you get stupid ass. I was in the middle of text. I was like, "Is this you?" Like texting me on the phone. But before I was like typing it, and there's like, "Oh, this is Kathy." I was like, "Yeah, that would be ridiculous." I imagine you wouldn't have just said that anyways.
She a
But
chatty Kathy?
anyways, what'd you say?
Is she a chatty Kathy?
Good chat. Is there any other kind of Kathy other than a chatty? I don't know any Kathys. You know any Kathys? I've never met. I did know a Catherine
I know a
in
few.
elementary school. You know a few.
Yeah.
Nice. You don't have to elaborate. I got
There's
it.
an
I
old
got it.
a store clerk, a woman that owned the store. It
Oh
was a
yeah.
husband and wife. They owned the
Uh huh.
store right in our small community for like 20 years. And she was
Nice.
Kathy. Kathy.
Nice. So, how did you get into bodybuilding?
Oh, just always been a fan. I don't think
Yeah.
that I ever remember living without knowing what bodybuilding was,
Mm-hmm.
which is strange.
Mm-hmm.
Pumping Iron was on TV. I know that sounds so cliche, like, oh, I got into bodybuilding from Pumping Iron. But it was on, I think it was PBS. It's like a documentary type channel.
I never knew it came on TV. Yeah.
And yeah, I guarantee it did because I remember. And it was on PBS, and I was watching the Mr. Olympia competition, I think it was
Mm-hmm.
2002 or one of those years. I'll have to check it out. But one of the bodybuilders said that he watched Pumping Iron on
Mm-hmm.
PBS in like, he said the year, it was like 86.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's exactly when I watched it because I was just a little kid, right? It's
Yeah.
like 5 years old, whatever. So I was
Hmm.
like, it had to have been then. So I
5
watched
years old in 2022, so I'm older than you. Ha! I was like, I was thinking when I was thinking about your age, I was like, he can't be that old. I was like, if you came on here and said you were 40 something, I'd be like, you must keep drinking them shakes, buddy. But yeah, so
you're older than
2002.
me.
Yeah, I'm 35. I was 5 in 94.
I
Well,
said 80.
95.
I said 80.
I thought you said
Did I say 90? I meant to say 80.
you said you were watching a bodybuilding
86.
show in 2002.
I think it was something like that.
So how old are you?
43.
Okay, you still look incredible.
Good genetics.
Good
My
genetics. I
my
mean,
grandmother just died last year. She was 101.
oh wow, goodness
Yeah.
gracious. I have one grandmother left. How old is GGJ? 85 ish, 86. But
Gotta good
all of
genetics
her
from that, huh?
sisters. Go ahead. What was that? Oh, it doesn't matter. All of her sisters. Her oldest sister just passed at like mid 90s or something, and she still had all her faculties and stuff like that. And they're from Utila, Honduras, and I don't know. It must be the
Honduras.
Utilian,
Yeah.
yeah, something in
Capital.
there.
What's the capital of Honduras? Tegucigalpa.
I have no idea. I went there when I was
You'll
about.
look that up later. You'll be like,
Is
gee,
that really it?
how did he know that? Tegucigalpa.
That's really it. Oh, yeah, you one of them. You must be a smart one. Yeah, that's sad that I don't know that when my grandmother's from there and a lot of their family. So when did you decide to start a channel? Your channel. And did you
2017.
have 2017? Uh, did you have apprehension? I know when I started mine, I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Or we
No.
just run it.
Well, this is gonna make sense to you. You're gonna be like,
Hmm.
okay, now I get it. I just
Hmm.
quit wrestling.
Okay.
I just quit wrestling.
Did
So I had
wrestling?
all this energy and character inside me, and it
Okay.
needed to come out.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense with the way you deliver stuff. I mean, you already have the voice, but the way you deliver stuff, and that's something I wanted to say at the very beginning when I was talking about being a fan of your show, is you have a very unique and informative and uh, easygoing way to deliver the news. You know what I mean? Or deliver your take on what's going on. And you having that background definitely it makes sense. And I was gonna, when I got on when we started, I was like, I wonder if he's gonna have that same, excuse me, that same energy, you know what I mean, that you do on your podcast, on your show. And clearly it's just natural. So that I'm
Yeah.
sure it's not work for you. I'm sure you enjoyed it. I mean, I love watching bodybuilding and talking about it 100%. But there are there's three people that, and another reason why I've always been a fan of your show is because I agree with you like 98% of the time. You know what I
Can't be
mean?
all the time.
No, I swear, I agree with you. So and also because you don't your stance on bodybuilders is not for thrill or not clickbait, but click talk, click opinion. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You dress it up the way that you dress it up, which is obviously your natural way of communicating, especially when you're talking about something that you like. But you just say it how it is, and you put your own little twist on it. And I kind of always agree. Uh, I'm trying to think if there's anything where I didn't, but I'm not sure. Anyways, so Jesus Christ. This is what I get for bringing in notes because I have like a laundry list of things to ask you. So first of all, who's your favorite bodybuilder of all time?
Robbie Robinson, of course.
Robbie Robinson.
The
What era is he from?
Robbie, he competed quite a few years before he turned pro. He won the Universe in 76.
Mm-hmm.
Should have won it in 75, of course.
Yeah.
But he was robbed, obviously.
And at that time, there's no different classes. This is just.
He actually was in the lightweight class. Do you ever watch Pumping Iron?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
You're right.
he was he you remember how Mike Katz, he got third or he got fourth and he went
I don't,
backstage?
all I remember is I don't remember the guys from the lower weight class. All I remember is the one that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's best friend that passed.
Yeah, Ken Waller.
Ken Waller. No, his
I'm
name
not
isn't
talking
Ken
about
Waller.
I'm not talking about the Olympia. They did
Oh,
the
okay, okay.
universe. They
The
did the
universe.
universe before they did the Olympia on Pumping Iron. You don't
Mm-hmm.
remember with Mike Katz, the guy stole his t-shirt? Ken
Mm-mm.
Waller stole Mike Katz's t-shirt.
Not really. What does he look like?
Maybe it's been a few years.
It has been a few years since I watched Pumping Iron.
Mike
But what
Katz
did?
looks like a big Frankenstein. Looks like he's balding. Big Frankenstein.
Okay, the blonde-headed guy that used to
Yeah.
play football that was talking about
Yes.
he
Yes.
he would
Yes.
run around the track for like
Yeah.
hours
Yep.
during
Yep.
the dance.
Or just go home and lift weights.
Yeah, yeah, for like hours. Okay, now I know who you're talking about. I didn't know he was in the lighter weight class.
No, he wasn't.
He
I'm just
wasn't.
saying, you know how he placed fourth,
Mm-hmm.
and then Ken Waller beat Paul Grant and the Australian guy there, Roger Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then Ken Waller went to the finals,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't show any of that. And you could even hear Mike Katz say, "Oh,
Oh.
good, Kenny won. Kenny won the overall. He beat Robbie Robinson. Robbie won the middleweight class, and there was one dude that won the even lighter class. So there was actually three guys for the overall, and Ken Waller won the overall. So they did have weight classes then.
Yeah, I only thought there were two because of Arnold and his best. Who was Arnold's best friend? The guy that passed. It's also kind of
Franco.
pathetic that I can't remember.
Franco.
Franco. Incredible.
That was the
chest.
Olympia. Yeah, that was the Olympia.
Yeah. That chest was wild. Him picking up the car and all that stuff. That's one of those like Sean Clarita, except he's a lot broader in the shoulders than Sean is and stuff. It's like if Sean outside of, and we'll get to that later, like the intercostals on the not intercostals, inner thigh. What is that? Adductor on his right leg was downsized. You know what I mean? But outside, he doesn't have much sweep. But it's like people, people say if he could be 5'8", who's gonna beat him? You know what I mean?
Clarita.
Sean Clarita. Sean Clarita would beat him. That's him right there. Yeah, Sean Clarita's a beast. Yep, there he is. How did you feel about
And
you
Hacksaw
got the
Jim
whole
Duggan.
setup?
Oh yeah, I
What,
got all the
that's
UFC,
wrestling right there.
with the UFC fighters.
I have a
That-
feeling
that-
that's just a yeah. You
that-
have
that's
the whole
Conan.
nice. Obviously,
And
I
all
love that.
all the
movie
other ones
too.
are UFC.
I imagine that's
Or-
a tiny portion of your full collection. I imagine.
Well, I got more over there, and I got He-Man action figures that I had growing up over there, and Ghostbuster toys.
Nice, nice.
A Jay Cutler there. Oh,
Damn it, Jay! You
there
see,
goes
he
one
kicked-
of my
he kicked
action
it.
figures.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jay
I
kicked
think
it.
The chair bumped into it.
Yeah, you got the famous leg stomp. Where'd you get that from? The Jay Cutler quad stomp.
That was sent to me by this guy here, Steve Halverson, fan of mine, sent that to me.
Nice.
I opened that for my 50,000 subscriber.
Oh, so that's new. I
live.
saw that video. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that.
he sent me that.
Is it heavy?
Yeah,
It's like it's Jay Cutler, of course. It's 260.
a couple pounds.
Have you gotten a lot of stuff from fans?
No,
What do you-
that's it.
oh yeah.
That's an old wrestling belt that I got. A friend of mine gave that to me.
So
But
even
that's an autographed picture of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I wrestled not with him, but I wrestled on the same card as him.
now, what league did he compete in? Because if it's
Hacksaw?
yeah,
He was Top of the top, he wrestled Andre the Giant,
Oh, so he was in there.
WrestleMania. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he was the guy with the 2x4. Ho! You don't remember
okay.
Hacksaw?
I vaguely remember that. I remember my favorite at that time, because I was younger at that time, was Ultimate Warrior.
Yep.
And plus,
He would have.
Ultimate Warrior, like physique wise, especially with bodybuilding, I mean, I can't think of anybody that had a better physique than Ultimate Warrior at that time. You'd probably know somebody because I know clearly you know the guys lined up, but Ultimate Warrior was
For his time, nobody would be even close. But
okay.
even
Okay.
if you lined them up, even if you lined them up, Warrior would still, if you took their physiques in the ring, I'm not talking if they trained for bodybuilding, I'm talking the physique that they brought to the
Mm-hmm.
ring, Warrior would beat them all. He was too conditioned. Peeled.
Warrior. Yeah.
Peeled. Triple H would have been bigger, maybe,
Yeah.
but he's soft. And
Triple H didn't really get like diced up until after
no,
he was like done.
no.
You know
When
what I
you're
mean?
that shredded, like Warrior, they always say, "Oh, he gassed so fast," and it's like, well, look at him. He is in
Yeah.
bodybuilding shape. Of course, he gassed. Give the
Yeah.
guy
I
a
mean, like
break.
if you when you look at fighters and stuff, even like I don't know if you're in the UFC,
Used to be.
but
I got all the fighters.
you know, you see, I mean, obviously they have some of them, and that's just genetics that are just peeled, and they have to make the weight cut and whatnot. But John Jones
Exactly.
won his fight against Stipe in incredible fashion. It was a spinning back kick, and I don't know if what I saw was fake news, but it was like lacerated spleen and liver, and you know what I mean. And John
Going
Jones
after
has
the
a
liver.
dad bod, you know, dad bod, and a lot of these guys,
He used to be
and
pretty
when we
peeled.
yeah, when he was
He's,
lighter weight,
what is
when
he
he was
now?
lighter weight, that was heavyweight. I
He's
think that was
heavy.
his
John
second,
Jones is
yeah,
heavy.
second heavyweight.
See, I'm out of the loop, man.
Actually, the guy that put the muscle on him, I don't know the guy's name, but Fuad Abiyah did a podcast with him several years ago. He actually got John Jones and still works with him to put on like the amount of tissue that he needs because at that point you're trying to get the most strength with the least amount of muscle. You know what I mean? Because the heart's got to pump blood to all that stuff, so you want to be strong and small essentially. But
Endurance is key. Yeah.
nonetheless, fighters don't always look the best. It's the guy in the corner that just looks like a regular Joe that has a gas tank, can fight. You know what I mean? So all that
The
stuff
gas
about
tank and
Ultimate
if you're
Warrior.
ripped is two different things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, unless you're just genetically ripped.
Well, like you said at first, which is what I always tell people when I'm watching UFCs, they're like, how come they're all ripped? I say, they had to just deplete their lightest they can get. Then they did the weigh in, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
they ate.
Yeah.
They ate. So they're
Yep.
going to look ripped and full. They're going to
Yeah.
look like a bodybuilder because whether
In
they
heavyweight, you don't
heavyweight,
have that
they can do
cap,
anything they want. They can
which
eat.
is why John Jones was more peeled. And there's obviously that you have to find that happy medium because if you cut down too much and you just put yourself in a deep hole, kind of like they talk about in bodybuilding, if don't dig yourself in a hole too deep that you can't get out of. You know what I mean? Go
Yeah, you don't
down,
want
come
too
up,
much
go
body
down,
fat.
come up. Yeah, yeah. Or else you get destroyed. So, in my time with wrestling, uh, obviously when I was big time into it, when they had the video games, it was The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Before that time, I was a big Ahmed Johnson fan. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when Gold Dust, I guess he pinned him or whatever, but he kissed him. And then he woke up and he had the gold dust all over his lips and he was pissed off. But Ahmed was cool. I remember when Goldberg came out. I was a huge Goldberg fan.
Would have been cool to see Ahmed versus Goldberg, to tell you the truth, back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Imagine that car
Ahmed.
accident. That would have been a car accident. Dion.
Apparently, Goldberg's son was playing for Deion Sanders on Colorado's team.
Huh.
There's another
Well,
thing.
Goldberg's a football player.
Did he do any time in the NFL?
Goldberg, I think he was just CFL.
CFL?
Yeah.
Goldberg's traps probably were in the NFL,
He might have
and
been
he
in the
was.
NFL. Very few wrestlers, when they say like Ron Simmons and all the like Stone Cold, The Rock, none of them guys were in the NFL, I don't think.
I think The Rock did like a small
Maybe.
stint. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but another and probably my favorite of all time. I like The Rock right now more than I did when he was just you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just a more convincing. He went bald, it worked out, and kind of like Triple H, he got outside of wrestling and not having to have that endurance, and then he looks the way he does
Ugh,
now.
I hate
And he's
Triple H
also a
so
huge
much.
fan. Would you say?
I hate Triple H so much.
I hated
And it's not
Triple
that I
H.
hate him and it's like, yeah, well, I'm doing my job, ain't I? And it's like, no, I don't hate you like a boo. I turn the match off because I know it's going to be a bore, and he sucks.
Yeah, I
He
hated.
ruined, he ruined
But
wrestling. Ruined it.
outside of wrestling, like when Triple H was at the Olympia handing out trophies. I remember at one he was pretty involved in it at one point.
2004. Yeah.
Rip,
That,
ponytail Triple H,
that was
bodybuilding
kind of
Triple
cool.
H is
I
pretty
like that.
tight. But
Stone Cold did one.
unripped.
Stone Cold
He
was there in
did
2009.
really
Yeah.
for open
Oh,
handing
yeah.
out stuff. That's a big guy. I remember they had like a reality TV show or something.
He was
Because when you
there.
see wrestlers against other wrestlers, you don't get the gravity of how big they are. But they're all like, I mean, Stone Cold was like 6'4",
He's
six
probably
five, something
6'2".
crazy.
I think he's only
Really?
6'2". Well, The Rock's a little bit
Okay.
taller than him.
Yeah, you're right. Because The Rock says right now that he's like 6'5", and I don't believe it.
Yeah, no, The Rock's 6'3.5". I'm like
Yeah.
a height. Like I've met a lot of the wrestlers in real life, and I
Have
know
you?
how tall some of them are, and I know how tall the other ones claim to be, and I know
Really?
how tall guys like Psycho Sid. If you remember Sid Vicious,
Psycho Sid, that was one of my favorite.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
went from Psycho
he
Sid to Sid Vicious. Yeah,
yeah, he was Sid Vicious, I think, first, and then
he was,
Psycho
and then Psycho Sid.
Sid
Oh,
Justice.
it's opposite. Sid Justice.
He was
I
Sid
never heard that
Justice
one.
when he first went to WWF in like '92. They called him.
Mm.
They got rid of the Vicious name because he was in WCW.
My my brother who's 42 is like every time I don't know something, he's shaking his head like duh. You know what I mean? Duh. you know.
So
But
anyway,
yeah,
what was I saying about Sid?
you're talking about height
Oh
and
yes,
seeing
yes,
these
yes, yes.
guys in
He
person.
he he
He
came
was a
out.
6'5", right?
He admitted how tall he was.
Which
He
is
was he
a
was
rare
billed at
thing in men.
he was billed at 6'10" or 9" because Hogan was supposed to be 6'8". Hogan never seen 6'8". He was never even close to 6'8".
I have this conversation all the time. I'm
He's
one of
not
the
six foot
people
eight. He just isn't.
when you're honest about your height and you're around other guys. Here's a perfect situation. And maybe I guess this was like 2016. I was a server at this restaurant in Atlanta called Tin Lizzie's. It's like you just get all kind of different kind of tacos, whatever. That's beside the
Tin
point.
Lizzie's an old car.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you must know. You know about cars too.
Not much.
I was
My
gonna
old
say
man's an expert, and
what?
so
I
it
was gonna
rubs
say,
off a little bit.
what do you not know about? But Tin Lizzie's, uh, we're like behind the outside bar upstairs, and one of the women servers, she says, "How tall are you?" And I say 5'10", and then she looks at this other dude. She's like, "What?" Because the guy just said that he was 5'11", and I wasn't towering over the guy,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
he's like, "No way, man! You got to be 6 foot." Nope,
yeah,
not
yeah.
6 foot.
Those guys that measure themselves, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a flawed system.
Yeah.
I would love to have the little and they do it when you go get your checkup and stuff, when your physical and everything. The thing on the wall where it comes down on your head like they do
Yep.
in classic physique. I really want that, but I also don't want to. As you get older, you get shorter.
Absolutely.
I don't know, unless you hang upside down a lot or something. I don't know.
I
But
think I'm shorter now.
yeah, how tall are you?
I'm only like, I used to be, I thought like 5'7" and a little bit,
Uh-huh.
but now I'd be lucky if I made 5'6".
You definitely look a lot. I mean, a lot taller on video.
People say
100%.
that I look tall
I
because
don't
I'm
know.
thin.
I wonder. Well, I think that I feel like it works both ways. If you can be bigger and it makes you look taller, or you can be thinner and it makes you look. I don't know. I have
I'm
no
just a
clue.
little fart. I wrestled for years though, and most of the guys are way bigger than me. I just
How
didn't.
was that? Did you ever get like? How intense was the wrestling? Were you getting injured? Were you?
I've only got one injury really that I would call an injury that put me out of my game for a little bit.
And what was that?
Just a sprained ankle.
Did you ever see any messed up stuff, injury wise?
No, you know what? I don't think I do. Remember ever seeing any? I mean, big falls, back sore. I don't even
Yeah,
think I've ever seen any. Maybe a couple broken arms, something like that.
because I
But,
know,
but
like
no real.
I've seen The Rock talk about tearing his quad tendon off. Have you seen him talk about all of his injuries and stuff?
Triple H tore his quad.
Yeah,
Punctured lung guy I wrestled with. I wasn't in the match with him. He punctured his
punctured
lung.
lung guy.
Yeah, yeah, he still wrestles.
Oh,
But we were always pretty safe.
yeah,
Like we had guys like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He was a legend. He
yeah.
wouldn't have came into our ring unless we
Okay.
run a pretty tight ship. But I've done some pretty, like, you'd be like, how would you ever do that? I'm thinking like I would never do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
thumbtacks. I've wrestled with thumbtacks.
Now, did you get slammed on him?
The guy dumped them on my back and he took a
Uh huh.
steel chair and he hit my back with them. And I like rolled around or whatever, and one jammed right in my hand, and
Yeah.
I never knew. It was
Yep.
in there tight.
Mm-hmm.
And the only you can see it on the match, like I got it on tape, and you can see it just like glitter. There's a couple points, but the guy
Mm-hmm.
backstage, I was going backstage, and one of my friends was like, "Jesus, man, you got a thumbtack in your wrist." Hmm.
So what about your
Really good.
back?
Well, I've
Like,
been
did
doing
that hurt?
pull-ups, lat spreads. No, my
Yeah.
my lower back was not injured, but it was hurt pretty good there at one point.
So, I mean, I can't I can't think of anything to compare to that feeling. I mean, even though you said you didn't have injuries, you have to have like some decent amount of pain tolerance in order
Oh,
to get tacks on your back and somebody slam. You
that
slammed
didn't
a
even hurt.
chair.
That didn't even hurt.
Was that just adrenaline, or just does if you get a
Just
tack in your?
it was a bunch of them at once. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really hurt.
Because that's when you watch wrestling, that shit looks
The
like
the
it
worst, the
hurts.
most painful thing, a guy whipped me with a like an old rope, like a tough old rope. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like and he wound it up like three or four things, and he let me have it.
Uh huh.
And I told him to do it. Like I said, until I gave him some sign or whatever. And the
Yeah.
first one, I'm thinking I'm gonna take a few of these.
Yeah.
And the first one hit me, and it just, oh man, that hurt. I
So
got
what?
that. I think I posted that one. Maybe
What's the name of your other channel? Is it wrestling based?
it's just it's called Marx Max Muscle with a K and an S instead of an X.
But is that your personal one? Like
Yeah,
showing more the man behind the voice
I
channel?
get honestly I gave up on it.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna get it monetized, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you lose your channel, you could try to run another one under somebody else's emails, but they will catch you and they will delete that one as well. So it doesn't really pay to have two channels, trying to think that it's going to be a safety net.
Mm-hmm.
Like look what happened to Trigilli. He
Yeah.
ran off somebody else's email for years. Or not years, but a while, enough to get 100,000 subscribers,
Mm-hmm.
but he was already blocked. They already kicked him off. He didn't do
Mm-hmm.
anything wrong on his channel. He was already canceled. Once you're
Oh,
canceled
because
on,
I saw that what happened with him was they tried to say that he promoted like where to buy PEDs or something like that is what I saw him say.
that's
And I
not
think
why they. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but he had a channel before Nick BS,
Mm-hmm.
and he got copyright striked 3
Mm-hmm.
times, and he got
Mm-hmm.
deleted from YouTube. So he restarted one under somebody else's email,
Yeah.
and but they eventually he got big enough where somebody they knew who he was, and
Oh
then he
wow.
couldn't even go on to other. If I had him on my channel, that video would have been blocked just
Wow.
because. Yeah, he all the channels that had him on there, their videos had to be taken down just because he was on it.
I always
And
thought that because, and I could just be not making this up, but I remember him saying something about like it was Fuad's fault. You know what I mean?
well,
I,
maybe he
I don't
ratted to
know.
somebody that at YouTube. I don't know.
I could be wrong because I follow Nick on Instagram, and it's
Yeah.
so funny because you know what I mean. Just like backstory, you probably don't remember, but around when I first started my channel, first, and I said this on my Tonio Burton interview, I started my channel. It had been like maybe 3 weeks, I don't know, something like that, 3 weeks or less. And I did a video about Tonio, and he started following me on Instagram, and I was like, what the you know what I mean? I had like 20 followers maybe on Instagram. And I remember early at that time, if I looked at the dates, I'd see it. But I don't know. I asked you something, you responded immediately and you sent me a link to this website that has like pictures, like HD pictures.
Oh,
And
okay. This was like last year, or a couple years ago. You said.
maybe like 8 months ago.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
see.
Sorry.
No, I'm not gonna bring it up right now. But it happened, and I was thankful because you first start out
Amble, probably Amble,
Amble. What's that?
the site.
Oh, is that the Russian site?
Yes,
Yeah, that's
that's
it.
a good site.
I don't know how to surf it. I thought about asking my brother, like, can I get this translated or something?
Yes, you
You know what
can.
I
There's a
mean?
little thing
You
up on
can.
the.
I thought about
It's,
asking you, but I was like,
it's right. Yeah,
leave
yeah,
this
yeah.
guy
It's right up
alone.
on the. Yeah, no. It's right up on the thing. I don't mind helping channels.
Yeah, clearly, if you're gonna mess with this 321 right here. But anyways, I say that to say, you know, I sent Trigilli just random shit. I said something like he had like a nice belt or something. But anyways, he's like he has like his coaching thing. And anytime I might comment on it, specifically if I comment, I always get like this message from him. I'm sure it's not him like, "Hey, where you from?" You know what I mean? Trying to for his coaching business. But it's happened like 4 times, and I've like said, like I've said no. But anyways, that's beside the point. But since we're talking about Nick Trigilli, that brings me to another topic that I wanted to talk about. Like I said earlier, you don't have a controversial way of giving your take on bodybuilding, but it's very effective, and I agree with you all the time, and it's informative. How do you feel about people that not like I said, not clickbait, but just bait, as far as in what you say, speaking bait, take bait. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's Nick Trigilli's bread and butter. He's just shitting on people. You know what I mean? All the time. That's his thing. And me personally, I think there's a place for it. There's just a place for it because it is entertaining. That's never gonna be my thing, but there is a place for it. Nick Trigilli does stuff like that, and even if you think about I mean, like professional sports, Skip Bayless to a degree. I don't know how much you keep up with basketball, football, and whatnot, but Skip Bayless, it's almost like, dude, do you really believe that? Or are you just saying that because people tune in? What do you
Yeah.
feel about channels that that you know kind of have this crazy, wild, disrespectful approach in order to get views.
Well, it's like you said, there's a spot for it, and if there's a audience, if there's a fan base for it,
Mm-hmm.
it's only, and I know this sounds terrible, but it's only helping bodybuilding. The more
It's
people that
only
get
helping
involved into it.
bodybuilding.
If they eventually, like the guy shoving the guy in the gym.
Yes,
It's like
exactly
there's
what I was
going
about
to
to
be a
bring up.
large group of people that are gonna tune into this
Watch.
just to see oh, what happened? Somebody hurt somebody? Oh no, nobody even got killed. Okay, well,
It made it. It made it to TMZ.
yeah, exactly.
It made it to TMZ.
There's gonna be a small amount of people that are gonna start watching bodybuilding that didn't even know it existed.
100%. I did a video. I took a while. I watched a lot of the videos about that because it was interesting to me. When there's something going on, when I come out with a video, and there has to be some middle ground. I want it to be something where I really have something that I think is a new perspective. So like with the Mike Van Wyck thing, I had 2 or 3 points. My first point in that video was all the people that are saying this is bad for bodybuilding. Stop. It's not bad. If you watch any professional sports, those guys are always getting in trouble. All the time.
It's pretty tame, isn't it? It's pretty tame, isn't it?
For far much worse stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to say that it was just a walk in, like, you know what I mean? It was pretty jacked up. So it was that it's good for bodybuilding, especially, any sport where you got a bunch of men and it's competitive, people are going to do malicious things. It's just the nature of it, things of that nature. And the second thing was when people are it was just a shove. You know what I mean? That's not.
I wouldn't want to get shoved with a bunch of metal lying around.
Yeah. 100%. But I was saying a jab in the, it's still a weird way to describe it, but pushing somebody in the neck like that, full force, is different from getting pushed right here.
Oh, it's a lot different.
If you push somebody,
the old Roddy Piper and the old poke in the eye trick,
right in the eye.
You could do this trick though to block it.
Yeah. Oldest trick in the book.
Long fingers. If they get long fingers,
you just got to time it out.
No, that's not the oldest trick in the book.
What, for getting poked in the eye?
That's not the oldest trick in the book.
What's the oldest trick? No eyes?
You got something on your shirt there. Oh. You look at their nose, you point down, and they hit. That's the oldest trick in the book.
My uncle is he's a wild dude. He was in Desert Storm, and he's been in gunfights in America, gunfights outside of, in Iraq. And he'd always tell us, he'd call it the Eagle's Claw. And this is not like his most effective move, but especially if you have long nails, he'd be like, he'd do like that to your forehead where his nails hurt, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had the Eagle's Claw. And then Jay knows exactly, he's laughing. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Then he had this thing where, and you can just do it yourself. You take like your knuckle or right here and you push it up against this stick of cartilage. I imagine right here. He was like, you do that?
Oh, I got a pretty big nose. I think I might need 2 hands. If you get my drift.
Put it right there.
But I never got into boxing. I always wanted to get into boxing, but my nose was too big.
Did you ever was it specifically wrestling? Did you ever do anything like like wrestling that you would have at your high school, this or that? Or
we tried to start a high school wrestling team in our school, just me and my buddies, and they never they wouldn't start it. Of course, years later they did. They had a pretty decent wrestling team at the school. So I wrestled around. I did a little bit of MMA training, like with a trainer in his basement, things of that nature, just little whatever, you know what I mean? Nothing, but he was a sensei. He was a real legit guy, whatever. Just like chokes, arm thingamajiggers, shoulder popper outers, arm bars. Learn how to block the arm bar, lest they know how to do it properly. That come in handy.
I did.
Showing off. It's like, go ahead, put the arm bar on me, and they can't do it. And it's like, well, you're not doing it right. You got to twist it.
Look, it's a complicated sport, which is
Yeah,
why like do you have any interest in the Jake Paul Tyson fight? Did you watch that at all?
no.
Yeah,
I was about
it
0% interested in that.
it wasn't worth it. Do you have a Netflix account? Of course.
I think the wife does.
Nice. You got any kids?
No,
Do you
my
want any, or
daughter.
is this a
No, no.
hard no?
At 43 years of age?
Yeah, look, I get it. I mean, I love. Are you an only child?
No, I'm the youngest of four.
Youngest of four. I'm the youngest of three. Yeah. So the thing with kids, I have two. I have a 5-year-old and a two-year-old. He's going on. He'll be 3 February 10th. He's exactly 40 years apart from my brother, February 10th, and he has
Huh.
the same name as my brother also. But it's a pain in the ass. I wouldn't have it any other way, but no
Oh,
one on
yeah.
this
Once you have
no
kids, I mean, yeah, of course.
no one on this earth makes me more angry than my children. No one, and it's because they're at the age. I mean, they're idiots. At that age, they're idiots. A friend of mine described it at work. He's got like 5 kids. He's like, it's like dealing with a drunk person
It's
all the
exactly like
time.
dealing with a drunk person, isn't it?
No reason. No reason at all. Get mad for stupid stuff, but yeah, it's pitiful. So, what are your feelings on? And I watched it. I watched your prejudging video, and I didn't do any videos on Prague because Saturday and Sunday I was with the kids and stuff. Had a lot going on. There was like a fair at my daughter's school. Uh, I did watch your first video, and like I said, I did agree with that. Again, what are your feelings on? I'll say Chris. I'm not. I'm just gonna say Chris, Martin, and Sean. I know that
No?
that other guy just came in and he was impressive, but I'll keep it with those
Mick?
three.
Holweck? Yeah. No, I think Sean did enough to definitely deserve to get in there in the finals. He looked awesome in the
100%.
finals. I was
And
impressed. And
he
then,
won some shots.
yeah, sure he did. If you were up close, especially condition. But it was Bumstead versus Martin, I think.
Yeah.
But the finals
So
is where Martin saved himself.
yeah, and I did, and also because I was doing all that stuff, I didn't watch the finals. I just looked at pictures. So
Yeah,
what I compare it to when Nick won Arnold Classic, what was that? 2020,
21,
2021.
21.
I remember when Nick walked out, and this doesn't happen often in pro shows, but when he walked out, I was like, that's it. Just when he walked out. And
You know,
and it wasn't when Bumstead walks out, because when he walks out, when he's just relaxed, uh, because of the amount of muscle that he has on his physique, it's not impressive. When
no, it
his
ain't.
when his quads are just relaxed and he's a touch knock kneed.
He looks
You know what I
hungry.
mean?
He looks
Yeah,
skinny.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
impressive. Uh,
Curry does the
but
same thing.
what you said, Curry?
Curry does the same thing when he walked out. It's like, oh man, you gotta
Yeah,
flex your legs when you walk.
yeah. You gotta flex your
You look,
legs.
you look hungry.
Yeah, and flexing the legs. That's another thing. Martin has the way Martin's legs react to being flexed and not being flexed is pretty
Crazy.
unique.
Yeah.
Because and I said this just from when I've covered shows with Martin. When he does, the Jay Cutler stomp, it's like right there, But when he's not doing it, it's bubbly, but there's not a lot going on. You know what I mean? There's just not a
Jays
lot.
were always maintained that hardness.
Yeah, yeah.
Tom
But
Platz is what it reminds me of. Tom Platz.
his
'Cause
legs still look good too. He
well,
still got
no,
not
like
like they
Martin.
used to.
No, I mean
Oh,
Martin.
Tom Platz.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
you're talking about
reminded
he
me
has
of
the
Martin.
same. Okay,
Yeah, it looked
he has
almost
to be
smooth.
on him. Yeah,
When you watch the videos, it's like, Jesus, legs look smooth there. And then he flexes
yeah,
like, oh, okay.
yeah. And Martin's is not hard from the front. You know what I mean? in general compared to the back. Like he looks significantly better at the Olympia, New York, yada yada. But his front double leaves more to be desired as just far as conditioning. If he could figure a way to, stay on top of those quads during that, because it seems like unless his heel is to the ground and his knee is almost hyperextended, he can't get the detail in there at all. And then Chris, it's all the way up to the groin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have bodybuilders in general that just this groin area don't know what these muscles are called. Some
Adductors?
people got it all the way up there. No, but I know adductors is in
Oh,
the
on the
center,
front.
but like
Okay, yeah,
front, like it's still quad.
yeah.
But some bodybuilders it goes all the way up there, and then some are just smoother in that area, like Martin. But
Smooth monsoon.
smooth monsoon and things of that nature. But when you just look at it directly, your eyes go to Chris, and Chris size wise was better than I thought he would be. And Martin from the front, because he's already not dialed in from the front, just naturally genetically, it didn't look good. Like front bicep, I think it's some shots in finals, his front lat looked good, but the front was just, who would you have given it to?
If they had called Bumstead's name in the finals, I wouldn't have been surprised. I was expecting them to, just because of the prejudging. I think Bumstead won. I'm not going to say easily, but Martin looked so tired, and his face
And the
was
sweat,
even.
when you're sweating like that. Remember
knew.
when Samson, before
It's
he
like
blew up,
knew.
he had him and Nathan Diasha battled it out in several shows a few years ago, and I remember Samson was just dripping, and I remember Nathan was like, you know what I mean? It was like
Arnold UK, maybe.
yeah.
There was a show like that, or there was a Yamamoto.
It might have been the first Arnold UK, because Nathan won the very first one. He got that picture with Ronnie Coleman on the little chair.
Sitting on the yellow chair. Yeah, I think it was a yellow chair.
That was a solid picture.
It also makes weird to go sit down in your posing trunk, so wouldn't
it? yeah. I imagine if you're on stage like that in general, and that's it, it'd be better. But yeah, 100%. I'd probably cross my legs. So I feel the same way. If Chris would have won it, I wouldn't have been upset. And I also think there's a part of me that thinks that I'm overthinking whether or not he won because he's coming from Classic. Is there a part of you that thinks that you're overthinking it? Like if he was just like a new open pro and he just pulled up like that, do you think it would be as hard of a decision? I get Martin was thicker. Martin's,
I don't think that we could see it. I don't think that we could ever understand what it would be like to see this guy just hitting the scene now. We already know who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. I don't even think he'd be. You have to have a name to get in the first call-outs. You wouldn't even be compared with these guys.
It's like, but would he?
Well, Andrea Presti, they threw him way back at the end, and in the finals they brought him back up a little bit out of the deep water. But I mean, it's like they can do anything they want.
Yeah, they can.
You can just say, "Oh," but he had a lot of impact.
That leads me to another question. So do you watch Bro Chat at all? Do you watch Fuad's show?
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't got nothing against Fuad.
Well, there's I'm sure it's not just on his show, but there is a notion. Excuse me. Just burping. Don't mind me, Mark. I'll get it together. There's this notion, and it makes sense, of guys that did not compete in bodybuilding at whatever level, whether it's a pro show. If you're pro, even better. And the notion that if you have not competed, that you can't judge. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think a good judge is a good judge, and just because you've competed doesn't make you a good judge either.
100%.
It's like,
Are all the judges perfect example? Examper. What's an examper? Perfect example.
example. That's one of my hard examples voices.
Perfect example. Tyler Mannion. He's the fucking head judge. Does he have any history? Obviously, he grew up under that umbrella, but I feel like that kills the argument immediately. It's not. See, the thing is, getting big, dieting, posing, that stuff takes technique. Looking at it and saying what looks better, especially if you've been watching it since you were a little kid. I've been watching bodybuilding since probably 6, 7 years old because my dad was a big bodybuilding fan.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Olympia would come on, he'd have it on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd been watching it for years. You see what the judges reward, and there's obviously being there in person and not being there makes a difference. But there's very few shows where I'm just like, bullshit, robbery. Even if you're watching on the live stream, you have an idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm never really like, the only show that I was ever like, oh my God, I can't believe he didn't lose was the last time didn't win, last time William Bonac and Brandon Curry competed at the Arnold Classic, and Brandon won downsize. William Bonac was hands down better. In
2020.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah.
And it actually validated that thought in my head because the judges were like, it was the gyno. That's why they said that we couldn't give it to you because of gyno. Meanwhile, Samson won the Olympia with the gyno. Ronnie won an Olympia with the gyno.
Franco Columbu had the biggest Fig Newton I think there ever existed.
Really?
Franco Columbu? He had a Fig Newton bar. You know those Fig Newton bars? Bar. He had like 2 or 3 of them. Seriously, it was that bad. Lee Haney had a Fig Newton.
Yeah, he had a little Fig Newton in there too.
Yeah, 87 he had a Fig Newton.
Do you agree with that? What's the big, if you had to call a robbery, what would be the biggest robbery? That's mine.
Olympia?
Which one?
Oh no.
No, just all pro shows.
Oh gosh, darn it.
Olympia qualifiers, Arnold, Olympia. Mine is literally that one. When Bonac lost. And he looked great. He was working with what's your boy's name? He stopped working with him. He coached Ronnie at one point. He always wears a backwards hat. Big guy.
Short little guy.
What's that guy's name? No, I'm not talking about
Bonac's
I'm not talking about no, at that time it was what was his name? Damn it. Anyways, just continue. You can think about who your the biggest upset, or if you had to call it closest thing to a robbery. And I'll sit here and think of that guy's name.
Jeez Louise, I don't know, man. I think Steve Kuklo was robbed of a second place, but...
What show was that?
Arnold Classic.
Well, see, when Nick won.
Yeah, Ian Valliere beat Steve.
Yeah, I thought...
They were so very close.
They were close, and Steve was winning. They brought Nick... they brought Steve and Nick out there at the same... You know what I mean? Where they made it just like clear, but... In my mind, I thought Ian looked pretty good in his prime.
Peeled. He's peeled.
He looked good.
He just didn't have no calves.
Yeah.
And Steve has huge calves.
Yeah, but
I don't know. But again, I'm not calling that a robbery.
Do you have any other thoughts? 1, 2 robberies? What'd you think about the Bonac? Brandon, I watched your video. Jay Cutler, you talking about Jay Cutler and what's your bald-headed boy's name?
Victor Martinez.
Victor Martinez. Yeah, that's a good one. Milos is always messing with Jay Cutler.
There's a lot of them, like Dorian. You can say, oh, he was still the most shredded guy, and then it's like, well, look at that arm. Come on.
Yeah.
You can't give an Olympia champion Or
with that
yeah,
little nub bicep.
yeah, and the elbow was all, and that's not knocking on the guy. He's a human being, but
Yeah.
this is a visual sport, and if you see something hideous like that, you got to call it. If you see a great big giant full bicep, do you not say, "Oh, look at that good bicep, very
Mm-hmm.
good"? But the Victor Martinez case, he was just better and more conditioned.
Yeah.
There's no real answer that I can give on why Jay beat him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love Jay Cutler. Who
Oh,
doesn't? There
I
you go.
mean, I didn't really even want to be that big, to be honest with you. I just wanted to beat Ronnie, and I did beat Ronnie. So
Jay, talk about somebody that ended up being like, because you know when Jay was competing, he wasn't saying shit. You know what I mean? Talk about somebody. I mean, he came out of his shell, but he's still the same guy. But I mean, he definitely transformed himself after after retiring. You know, 09 Jay.
came back and won. And I feel bad. I probably shouldn't mention this, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
terrible about Jay Cutler and my feelings towards him.
Speak it.
You see, old Marx Max
In
Muscle.
09
No, no,
or just
no,
in
no,
general.
no, no. Before. See, I
Okay.
watched bodybuilding and I love bodybuilding, but I
Mm-hmm.
hated Jay Cutler. And
Mm-hmm.
my opinion on him, you didn't hear these guys talk. I didn't know what the person Jay Cutler was like. So what did I formed my own opinion. This
Yeah.
cocky guy thinks he is so good. He thinks
Yeah.
that's not who he is. But that's
Yeah.
who I thought he was. And in my mind, there's no way he could beat Ronnie. When he
Yep.
did, I stopped watching bodybuilding altogether. I never started watching bodybuilding again until like 2010 or 11, Phil Heath. I hated Jay Cutler that much. I hated his midsection. Looking back,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, how did I even have that opinion on him? He's really
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was seeing.
Like Night of Champions, and obviously because of that old, like the cameras back then. But Night of Champions, Jay Cutler's ridiculous.
2002.
I don't know the year because I'm an idiot. Not because I'm an idiot, but I'm not sure the year. I just know that I've just seen the pictures in I can't talk. I can't talk, Mark.
Iron
But
Man,
yeah.
I think it was. Yeah, he said he competed somewhere before that, and he was like a
Mm-hmm.
certain weight,
Mm-hmm.
and he put on weight. I don't know how I did it, but he put the weight on, and he was more conditioned, if anything, the day of the show when he
Mm-hmm.
woke up. So he was like, "This is perfect."
Must run it.
Because you're not going to look like that every day. Your body's going to do what it's going to do. That's why
Mm-hmm.
everybody doesn't peak at the Olympia. Otherwise, they'd all be peaking all over the place, you know.
I wish there was a way that, and there's not, but to guarantee everybody's at their best. You know,
Can't do it.
can't do it.
I wrestled for years, man, and there's some nights where you just
Shit.
go in there and you feel like crap,
Yeah.
whether you do what you do or not. And be like a UFC fight. If you go in there and you're not feeling peak,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to lose. Look at GSP. He's lost to guys that weren't that good.
George St. Pierre has lost.
Yeah, Matt Serra beat him up bad. Little tiny Matt Serra. He had no
I've
business beating anybody up, but he beat George St. Pierre up.
I've never watched a. I don't think I've watched a George St. Pierre fight live, but he's like real life Jean Claude Van Damme. You know, he's actually the guy you saw in the movies. You watch? Did you watch? Did you keep up with Van Damme? Is he up there too?
It's a little. That's a little poster in the background
My
there.
glasses.
Oh, that's a van.
Yeah, Lionheart. I mean,
It's double impact.
Double Impact is the one. Yeah, Van Damme. I was a huge fan. He's another one of those guys that were just
He was a
peeled.
bodybuilder.
He was set up. He
He
was
did
set up.
bodybuilding.
He did.
Yeah, he competed.
Had no idea.
Yeah, Mr. Brussels.
That was it a stage name?
No, he won a Mr. Brussels. He's from Brussels.
Brussels what? Where's Brussels?
Holland. I
Oh,
no, Brussels, Belgium, Belgium. Sorry,
that
I
makes
knew it. I
sense
knew.
then.
Yeah, he's from Belgium.
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme is a
We used to think he was
beast.
Canadian when we were kids growing up. We thought he was Canadian
Why? Because of his accent?
because he was like French accent, and in
Oh
like
yeah, there's
three of
this.
his movies, he's from Canada.
Ah,
Nowhere to Run. He was from Quebec. He was Quebec, and there's
hmm.
no internet back in the day. He
Yep,
didn't know anything. Nobody knew who Hulk Hogan's real name was.
yep.
We thought he was Canadian. And then they started calling him Muscles from Brussels. And it's like, oh, he's not Canadian at all.
Hmm. So, what do you think about? I'm going to talk about 2025, and we'll wrap it up. But I want to talk about the future first. What do you think about not the Matt Jansen situation, but what do you think about Nick's body right now, where it was, where you think it can go, and dot dot dot.
I'm not too keen on what I've seen in New York, but there was a
Yep.
lot of aspects. He hadn't he hadn't stopped off anything for a
Yeah.
long, long time. And after he tore
That's
his
what
tricep,
everybody's
or
saying.
after he tore his hamstring, he continued. He stayed lean right up into New York, and his body showed. His midsection looked a little out of whack when he wasn't flexing it. When he flexed it, looked great. You know, he had the separation still, but there's something going on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about how long he did from the year before the Olympia, and then he jumped into the Arnold, he stayed lean to the Olympia, and then he just needed a break.
Those pictures that he had leading up to the Olympia, the first one that he missed
Yes.
before the hamstring. I think if he
Yeah.
got it that year, he looked crazy that year. Yeah, the updates and stuff, and Nick had Nick has always when he does like his update picks, he'll do it on the worst light. You know what I mean? No matter
His
what,
updates, yeah, I know what you mean. His update pictures you can actually go by.
yeah. He always looks better at the show than he does in the update pictures, and it's different with a lot of people. It's the complete opposite. But
Because they're,
I don't know.
you get a tank top on, you get all pumped up in the gym and say, hold on a second.
Yep.
Okay, do it now. Hurry
Yeah.
up.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Right
like
after
you're out
you.
there on the light. You've had time to breathe. You're tired, nerves are going. You're standing there. You're not all pumped up like you think you're gonna look like.
Yeah. Jay
Like
Cutler said he actually never pumped up.
well, you
Uh,
don't really need to. If you know you're in the first call outs, you know you're not gonna try to
Pump
impress
up on
anybody that
stage.
yes. Especially if you know you're gonna get in the first call outs and stuff. If you're a newbie and stuff like that, try to get their attention, maybe pump up a little extra, but
Yeah.
you're not you're just gonna regret it later on when they're calling for another round of flexes.
Yeah. I really thought that was interesting though because, I mean, Jay Cutler's the only open pro that I've ever heard say that he just didn't pump up. You know, haven't heard that before.
Sergio Oliva Sr.
He
You ever
he
hear of
didn't.
him? No,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Sergio. He pumped up for like 3 hours.
Oh goodness.
He was probably a little smooth because of it. He was pumped, and you could see that he couldn't even really flex his arms because they were so full. No,
Yeah.
I guess
Before.
he pumped up for a few hours.
I mean, at some point it just goes the other direction. I mean, I don't know.
He trained on cream soda and Twinkies too. So what are you gonna say? You got a better
So
physique than I'll ever have.
yeah. I mean, the forearms were like the size of the bicep. The
One of the
wrist
first
was like the
bodybuilders that I
bicep.
remember him.
Yeah. If he would have known how to get conditioned, he would have been a lot more successful. You know?
Arnold probably sabotaged him.
Yeah, he probably fucked with him.
I
You know,
bet you did. Yeah, we had this old Nautilus book. If you remember Nautilus training system.
Vaguely. I mean, I recognize the name
Yeah,
Nautilus.
it was just like a little handbook like that, and it showed like training. It had pictures of Arnold, Franco, and Serge Nabret.
Mm-hmm.
So around like when you said when did I get into bodybuilding, we actually always had that book too, because
Mm-hmm.
my dad was kind of into bodybuilding, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that book, I remember that book and Pumping Iron, probably the first introductions to it.
Yeah, Pumping Iron was great. I need to revisit that one. So who do you have 2025? You know what the next show is? The next biggest show coming up. I know after the Arnold they got, got
There's
Detroit
a Mr.
coming.
Big,
Mr. Big, you
or
know,
is it Big Man?
Mr. Big definitely
Is it,
sounds
well,
familiar.
there's a Big Man and a Mr. Big, and one of them is coming up. I'm pretty sure. It's like a Spain show.
Yeah, I'm ready. I love that there's this pocket during the season where the show's just, you know what I mean? I'm
Yep.
looking forward to it.
New York, Arnold, Detroit, and then they just
Yeah,
keep going.
yeah, it's gonna be fire. So who do you first? Who do you predict wins the Olympia next year? I know it's early, but if you just had to guess, me, I think Samson personally.
I went that route last year, and I was wrong. I mean that
Samson,
I mean that Derek was going to retain, and now I'm thinking, well, Samson's going to retain. I'm like, well, you thought that last year, but yeah, I think Samson will retain.
yeah, Samson, especially when you look at those HD pics. I mean, he looked
He was the
great.
winner. He was the winner.
I mean,
I
like
knew he was
people,
the winner.
even when people are talking about conditioning, like when you see the HD pics, like Samson from the back, like you can see even in the quads, you can see separation in the quads from the back. And his hamstrings in general have always been extremely good. You know what I mean? It is glutes better than they've ever been, but I mean Samson was ripped. The only place that Samson in my eyes didn't have, and I'm not saying the best detail on stage, but extremely comparable uh, detail was like in the most muscular in the arms. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? There's just
that's a
not
fair
they're just
criticism.
they're just
That's
puffy.
fair. That's a fair criticism.
Abs and thigh was super improved. Quads from the front, wonderful.
His
And the
abs were
back weren't.
bubbly and round, man. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, because
They
he
were
usually
decent
has
in
that little.
France. They were decent in France too.
Yeah,
And then
because I
they
know
just
when he took off his shirt at the press conference, I was like, "Ain't gonna cut it, buddy." You know, not
you
gonna
weren't
cut it.
impressed.
But uh,
I was.
I mean,
You know why?
really?
He wasn't
Why?
even pumped up. It's the day before. He's not going to
Yeah,
look
but
good.
Samson is like he's so round, and he said it after he won. Not after he won, but in the Arnold Classic UK, he did a podcast. That's when his wife first started took
Hmm.
took the reins, both hands,
Yeah, and he looked
and
good at that event too.
yeah, he was like, I don't get flat. You know what I mean?
So she
I
worked
don't.
him.
He doesn't get flat.
Yeah, he doesn't
It's,
lose his muscle.
he can get starved. He's not gonna get flat. There's obviously a difference, but he doesn't get flat.
Yeah, some
But
guys,
yeah,
everybody's different.
yep, yep, 100%.
No,
But
he
yeah,
took a lot of criticism on that guest posing or that when he took his shirt off.
I saw it. I was like, nope, not happening.
See, I was on a podcast right before that too, and everybody was dissing him. And I
Hmm.
think it's just in me to disagree with people. I don't know what it is. I'm like, I don't know. I thought he looked because I was taking all things into consideration. Like he's calm and relaxed right now. You can't be pumped right up, especially the day before. You got to kind of be reserved. I'm like, that's going to look a lot different on that stage because
Yeah,
he's going to be pumped.
yeah,
I'd like to
and
see
you
what the other
also,
guys would have looked like there. Derek would have looked soft, I bet you.
yeah, Hottie would have looked probably pretty crazy.
Hattie's just peeled.
Cause I always do after the prejudging is when I do my videos and line them up and stuff, and then once at finals I kind of once the winner's already been announced, I just don't have the urge I don't feel like talking about it as much, but prejudging,
know what I
I
mean?
love prejudging.
Yeah, I
You
know
know
what
what I
you mean.
mean? So when I watched finals, I mean, excuse me, prejudging, I started out. I started out with Hadi winning. I had Hadi and Samson top two, and at some point I changed. Like as I kept looking at the shots, I was like, but I agreed with the decision in general. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are. I look forward to seeing your videos. Um 2025 is going to be a beast. Uh, a lot of stuff going on, but I really appreciate you taking your time to come on the show. Hopefully, we can do it again because I really enjoyed it. You're one of the. It's like you, Ian, and Fuad are top three people that I've wanted to talk bodybuilding with,
Yeah,
and
Ian
so
seems like a solid dude, doesn't he?
yeah. Ian's pretty. He's always very, very reasonable.
Fu, I have no for a lot of people that I do podcasts with and stuff. They don't really like Fuad or anything like that. But I've actually spoke to Fuad on Instagram.
Yeah,
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 he's mentioned me a couple times in videos positively.
yeah.
And I mean, if this guy's gonna speak positive of me, why would I
And
say something
Fuad,
bad about him?
if he doesn't feel like, if he doesn't like you, he'll tell you.
No, he
If
mentioned me because he said that I think it was that muscle discord, Matt.
mm-hmm.
He said he's always negative because they've had beefs. And
Yeah,
he mentioned Marx Max Muscle never gets negative in his videos. I'm like, oh my
mm-hmm.
God, look, Fuad's talking about me.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be pumped too. Yeah, I love Fuad. Fuad is one of the. I wasn't keeping up with shows that were Olympia qualifiers until I started watching Bro Chat a ton because they would talk about what was, and that was what it used to just be like Olympia Arnold. I
Hmm.
I don't even think I knew about the whole system, how it worked. And watching Fuad and Bro Chat and stuff is what is like. Okay, now I'm getting the show, unless it's like no one in it.
Used to
But
be you have to win a universe to get to compete at the Olympia.
oh yeah,
Back if you go far enough, yeah. You had to be a
yeah.
Mr. Universe.
You never even hear about Mr. Universe anymore, really.
Well, it's gone. They took all the
It's gone.
misters away. The IFBB universe is gone.
Oh okay.
The
What is it?
NABA still exists, but NABA's nothing.
Okay. Yeah, but I just, and even if I didn't like Fuad, you got to respect him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was a great bodybuilder too.
He was a great bodybuilder, and they have guys coming in and out of the company and stuff, but he's got an eye for talent. You got to say that. Like he got Samson early, he got Martin. Like he knows what he's doing. 100%.
Detroit Pro, good lighting.
Incredible lighting. That lighting was, I mean, second to none. 100%. But anyways, Mark, I really, really appreciate it, brother. Hopefully we can do this again at some point. Thank you for your support coming on the channel. You're my GOAT in this arena. And till next time, my friend.
Well, anytime, man. Just let me know, and I'll just give me a day ahead, and I'll be on. Not a problem.
Yes, sir.
If you